If white immigrants can come to this country 50 years ago with nickels and dimes and no education, and come here and pool their little nickels and dimes and no education, and set up little stores, develop these stores into larger stores, develop this into an industry which creates job opportunities for whites. Since Lincoln was supposed to have freed the black man 100 years ago, and today the black man, according to the government economists, has spending power of $20 billion per year. We feel that with the black man spending $20 billion a year, not setting up any businesses, not creating any industry, not creating any job opportunities for his own kind, he's not in a moral position to point the finger today at the white man and tell the white man that he's discriminating against him for not giving him a job in factories that he himself set up. If the black man has $20 billion, and these so-called Negro leaders are such geniuses that they can integrate white restaurants and integrate white factories and force themselves into that which the white man has set up, they should use this same ingenuity to show the black people how to pool our wealth and set up something of our own. And then we won't have to force our way into his anymore.
All right, so title of this video is Malcolm X Destroys White Privilege Sentiments. All right, I didn't say in the title or in the thumbnail that he didn't destroy the idea of white privilege, he just destroyed certain sentiments of it. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So when we talk about white privilege, some of the sentiments that is effectively put forth with it, not necessarily what people think, not what they say they're trying to do, but effectively how they operate is basically, you know, the white power, like the white power structure or the Western structure, which is run by white people, is benefiting at, is benefiting at the expense of the minorities, and they have an advantage because it's their power structure. Therefore, since they're a lot of the stuff that happens in the minority community is the result of what they do. So therefore, the bad crap is not the minority's fault, especially black people. All right. Therefore, you can't really hold black people responsible effectively because you know, it's like victim blaming. All right. This is how they effectively operate. Whether they say they think this or not, this is how they effectively operate. All right. Because try to hold them responsible in a way. Try to hold us responsible for anything. It's not going to go well. It's going to be like, well, but you. Right. There's no point there's no standard that you can hold us to, or nothing you can say to us that we like, you know, that will be acceptable. All right. And this is where you can get the DEIs and things of this nature. But when it comes to Malcolm X, you know, Malcolm X grew up in a time where, like, he was, okay, so he lived from around 1925 to 1965. He died in 1965, all right? So, and during that time, you know, he went through a lot at the hands of, white people, all right? Let's just know, and we also know he was a very harsh critic of white people, very, very harsh critic. It could be argued at one time he didn't like them, but but at the end, I'm not sure if that was the case. But that just because you're harshly critical of somebody doesn't mean you necessarily didn't like them. I know you talked about the white people as devils at one point, but I don't know, not thoroughly familiar with his history. But I believe he changed up from that at the end. Now, anyways, he was, despite what happened in the past, you know, and he knew about it. There was like Black Wall Street where they burned a lot of stuff down or whatever. He said white immigrants could do this. Therefore, black immigrants with much more resources and education should be able to do this. And he has said the responsibility of the leaders is for us to build for ourselves. And he's like, if we don't build for ourselves, we do not have a moral right to demand anything from them. Notice he said moral, not necessarily legal. Now, this two things could be true at the same time. DEI could be good, but we still don't have can't hold them moral responsible for what we didn't do. So, so that was his argument. So then so effectively, so now that we don't have our stuff, we're trying to integrate their stuff, and then this is why we ask for DEI and whatever. And then when it talks about when some people talk about why don't you build your own, then it's just like, oh, you are a racial prejudice person or whatever. They may be, but two things can be true at the same time. Just because they may be racial prejudice and just because they may be motivated by it doesn't mean that necessarily the statement is false. Just because a prejudiced person say 2 + 2 is 4, and it doesn't mean that the statement is false. It doesn't stop being true in and of itself. It doesn't stop being true, or it doesn't stop being true because they said it, or it doesn't make it true because they said it. All right. So you have instances like this, which I'm going to show you in a second.
Discriminating us, huh? Is y'all finna start discriminating us? So y'all telling me if I want a job here, I can't work here if y'all don't like me? That's what y'all telling me? Don't say nothing, officer. Hello? Y'all finna start discriminating us, Target? This what we doing? This is what we doing. Y'all quiet in this motherfucker. Where the work is at? I got kids. I need a job in this motherfucker, man. What's going on? Y'all finna follow Trump and his rules?
right, so you have this person who was crashing out over a DEI. Now, this seems like to be an extreme example. I don't know if there's any other example like this, but this is just like the sentiments gone to an extreme. But nevertheless, a lot of people, so nobody would want to hire this dude, not because he's black, but because he's just a moron or he's acting like one, and he is. Target is not going to stop hiring black people just because they got rid of DEI. You just don't have that program anymore now. But this is kind of stuff is what makes people want to get rid of DEI, and this fact that you can't really hold African Americans or any, like to certain groups accountable is what makes people less sympathetic towards some people. This is why you have the gender war. This is why you have a lot of people who aren't really that sympathetic to the LGBTQ because. These people you can't really hold certain people accountable if you're not outside that group, and this would apply to us too. So you can't. It's like DEI is weird. It's like you can't if you say you're a DEI hire, it's offensive, but then they'll admit that getting DEI is why they're losing their jobs, even though you can't say that they're a DEI hire because it's offensive, and you're prejudiced. But then the system is. Like then sometimes they'll boycott somebody. They don't want to elect somebody because they're prejudiced. But we need the but they'll get into want DEI to get into the system because they're prejudiced. I'm thoroughly confused. So I'm not saying all those things are contradictory, but it's just like it seems like everything is everything is really about holding other people's feet to the fire instead of our own. That's just what it seems like effectively. All right, now. So here's the thing when it comes to those who are a lot of people who are sympathetic to like woke adjacent stuff. So wokeness wasn't always wrong. That's why I say woke adjacent stuff. The stuff that a lot of the people anyways, the wokers are sympathetic to those who are considered woke, at least by modern terms, not necessarily by maybe early 21st century terms. But anyways, you have three groups. You have African Americans, women, and you have the LGBTQ people who are used as a shield to promote degeneracy around the world as far as the West is concerned. All right, so you have women, and you have woman degeneracy. You have, I mean, there is male degeneracy, but these people, do have male. I mean, woman degeneracy enables male degeneracy. There is male degeneracy, but that's another thing. Then you have the African American groups that promotes degeneracy amongst everybody, amongst heterosexuals, whether it's male or female. All right, the African Americans are used to promote that in the entertainment, and then you have the LGBT that pushes like the all the gender nonsense and even to minor attracted people. So you have. You have the women used for gender division. You have African Americans to put degeneracy amongst heterosexuals, male and female, and then you have the LGBTQ that targets children. So you have these people, and then they use us as a screen to say like, oh, if you come against this degeneracy, then you're coming against this group. Like if they have a lot of ridiculous stuff in these books, then they'll say, oh, you're coming against LGBT people. They use LGBT people as a shield. Or if I come against certain type of degeneracy, then they'd be like, oh, you're saying you hate black people. All right, a lot of these leaders kind of effectively associate degeneracy with black people, or if you call out black degeneracy, it's just like, no, you can't call this out. All right, now all right, so it's like entertainment is used to influence culture. Culture is used to influence policy, and policy influences culture, and then culture influences entertainment. It goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But recently there is being a pushback on entertainment as well as public policy. But here's the thing, and then a lot of this stuff is used since you can't say anything, causes division, and it keeps people weak and things of this nature. Now, the fact that the lack of building is one of those things that these groups they don't ever talk about. They talk about what the other person's doing, not what we should do. All right, what the other person's wrong instead of what we should do, and therefore, so they don't address certain crime, looting, and corruptions that happen in a lot of these places. Like we see a lot of the corrupt mayors that are coming on in black cities, a lot of corrupt black mayors, like the one in Chicago, and then there's other mayors, but other mayors and government officials and so forth. But there was a lot of looting in these, and there's a lot of corruption, and then there's a lot of looting in some of these places, and then you have BLM that had looting associated with this, and it's like and then they make excuse, and then a lot of these pundits make excuses for this kind of thing, which hurts us as black people, and then it makes it so nobody would want to build in our neighborhoods. Nobody, all right. Nobody would really want to build in our neighborhoods. And then, it keeps us weak and dependent. All right. And as long as we're weak and dependent, then we'll keep voting the way we vote because we see ourselves as effectively, we effectively think they're an ally because they're sympathetic to us being weak. They're sympathetic to us being weak, but they're not really our allies. Malcolm X talked about this when it comes to Democrats. I'm going to just play that right quick.
When you see this, you can see that the Negro vote is the key factor. And despite the fact that you are in a position to be the determining factor, what do you get out of it? The Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. only because of the Negro vote. They've been down there 4 years. And all other legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up and got it out of the way, and now they bring up you. And now they bring up you. You put them first, and they put you last. Because you're a chump. A political chump. In Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives, there are 257 who are Democrats. Only 177 are Republican. In the Senate, there are 67 Democrats. Only 33 are Republicans. The party that you vast controls 2/3 of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and still they can't keep their promise to you because you're a chump.
All right, so he was just like, they put us last, right? He talked about them putting us last, and it was a little bit more to it, but that's all I felt like playing. All right, and this is evident with the migrant crisis, where they just import migrants in our neighborhoods, and they give migrants money, and they don't give us money. I mean, black people have been asking for reparations for years, and whether you agree with it or not, black people are more deserving of reparations than the migrants are deserving of our money. All right, whether you agree with reparations or not, this is irrelevant to this conversation. So I don't want to hear about whether you agree with it or don't. It's just like, if black people are more deserving of reparations than the migrants are deserving of whatever. And this is how they put us last. This is how the Dems put us last. So yeah, this is because they want to keep us weak, because if we're weak and dependent, then we'll keep voting for them because we see this structure as our enemy. And even if whether it's our enemy or not, is not even the point. The point is that we should be building. We can build. It's possible to build inside this structure so we can have our own. But it's like they don't want us to have our own to keep us weak and to keep us weak and dependent and keep us and use us to as a barrier to, since we're weak and dependent because of them, use us as a barrier to promote their agenda, since you can't say anything about us, therefore you can't say anything about the agenda that they're trying to put forth. But this is just how I see things. But anyways, that's all I really have to say. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching, and have a good day. Peace.